members would have to go back to their little birthplace and fight for their territory, and the fight would be between them instead of us intervening and taking the blowback and everything else. At this point, I just don't think American lives and the idea of worldwide terrorism, it's not worth this so-called market share and sphere of influence and all of these old imperial ideas that we had about the world. I think we need to throw some of that stuff away, man. This whole, we should determine how a country is run and what their resources should be allocated to and all of that should be over. Leave them alone and make them govern. That's what I make them govern.
You sound like Trump right now.
Well, but no, Trump was still saying that we should go after. He's going to go after ISIS, and reporters and people have asked him, "Are you talking about boots on the ground?" Now he tries to play that off by saying there are enough people in the Middle East to take care of ISIS if it's handled properly. But the bottom line is, they're not going to do anything without American boots on the ground.
We have American boots on the ground now.
Yeah, but they still want American boots on the ground because they know that America is the greatest fighting force in the world. Okay? And you got...
Well, they want more.
ISIS...
If you're a bad leader, look, if you're a bad leader who's corrupt and getting money from Western powers and most of your money is invested in Western powers, it's always easy to say the great Satan is why your lives are like this. Now, if you remove the great Satan and force them to have to govern and deal with those people, now you got a whole other ball game. That's what I'm trying to get across. The easiest scapegoat is always the country who intervenes. In America, we have this idea that we come over, we train an army, and then we tell that army, okay, you hold it down. And that army's not going to fight and die for a puppet regime. The British are better at this than us because they typically come in and give power to a minority, and then that minority, in trying to hold on to power, will be doing what the Brits want them to. So they've historically been better at this than we have. We've always gone with the idea that people are going to die for our puppet leader that we installed for them. And typically, they throw down their guns and run.
Well, that's what happened when they started the Iraqi surge back in, 2010, I think it was. We gave them all kinds of munitions and we trained them. And as soon as ISIS got too close, they laid down their weapons. ISIS wound up fighting us with our weapons. You know, they ran and turned tail.
So what's the solution? What's the solution with ISIS?
People aren't going to die for nothing. Like, they're not going to die for some leader you've installed who's lived the majority of his life in America, and you're presenting him as their new puppet leader. Like, nobody's going to die for that guy, especially with no assurances of how things are going to go. So, yeah, they can read the TV as well.
Unfortunately, when Saddam Hussein was overthrown, all right, there was nowhere for his supporters, the Ba'ath regime, where they could go, okay? The puppet presidency that they set up after that, he swore he was going to combine Sunni and Shia, and he never did, and he shut out Saddam Hussein's supporters, so they wound up going to Syria and Libya and forming ISIS, okay, because they felt they had nothing to lose.
Yep.
They had everything to gain and nothing to lose.
So, bottom line is, anybody have a solution for ISIS?
Yeah, leave them alone. Make them fight for the territory over there that they want. And if they're viable and they're real, then they'll take over their little part. The Kurds, I think the Kurds are all the way down to Khartoum now. They've taken over a lot of territory. And the Kurds, I believe, are the majority there. So they're going to want their slice. And we kind of let this thing play out organically. Like, this whole idea that we should be drawing lines of demarcation for other countries is crazy. So we've normalized it. So we think it's, it's okay. Okay, this country is here. There's your border. That's that country. By what right?
And what do we do? What do we do about the ISIS? What do we do about the ISIS attacks here?
I think they go back to their homeland at that point because they know what the fight is. They're fighting for their own territory, and at a certain point, the radicals get driven out. The government becomes more competent, and the government also becomes more likely to make a deal because now they have to actually govern. Now it's not about just we'll blow this up and we'll blow that up. And here's a little hint. The Saudis are only going to allow so much nonsense going on in their backyard if they have to face the brunt of it, as opposed to everybody else facing the brunt of it.
Yeah,
Saudis can sit on their hands now.
they got the largest army of all of them.
Yep.
Not to mention a nice chunk of money from us.
Yeah. Now, how about now?
Yep, always.
All right, so.
Well, I think we're already in World War III. I mean, they have declared war on us.
Well, they
They're
have.
already, they're going to, yeah. And so really it's just, and where Russia's at, where Iran's at, we're already in World War III. We're just not seeing it that way.
Well, it's
Americans don't see it, but people in ISIS see it that way. People in Iran see it that way. People in Russia see it that way.
Yeah, but these are still small countries, and they're just about.
Yeah, but once
Russia
lines up, once Russia and Iran line up, it's just it starts a little snowball, just like when King Ferdinand got shot and stuff. And there was little divisions there. We're already in it. We're already in it.
I'll tell you, superpowers don't fight each other anymore. They learned a few things after those 2 world wars. And Russia, of course, they're going to protect their junior partner. If somebody came over to the Western Hemisphere and tried to attack somewhere in South America and determine things over there, we would intervene too. So the big boys don't allow the other big boys.
They are intervening in Ukraine. They're looking at Lithuania. I mean, we're already in World War III.
Right, but just listen to what I'm saying. The big boys don't allow the other big boys to come play in their sandbox. So Russia wants to take back some of the things that used to be USSR because they feel they're in their sphere of influence. Same thing with us. If they came over to South America and started kicking stuff around, we would step up because that's our area, because that's how the big boys play. They mark out a certain amount of territory, and the secondary junior partners are kind of under them. So I wouldn't say World War III because these big boys have kind of learned from those 2 world wars that they're not willing to fight each other, but they will skirmish over territory and who should determine what. But, I mean, why are we surprised?
But once Iran gets into it, it's all hell's going to break.
You got 2 wild cards.
We're in it already.
You got 2 wild cards. Korea. You got Korea and you got Iran. 2 wild cards that are going to have.
Right.
They're going to have.
Set it off anytime.
Yeah, and they both.
I'll explain why. I'll explain why it won't. Iran, no matter what, is a member of OPEC first because their main thing is oil exporting. So they're allotted 2.5, I think it's million barrels a day. Iraq has the same output. They can be easily kind of put down if you start messing with the oil markets, and that can always keep them in check. North Korea, China, that's their responsibility. China doesn't want North Korea to fall because the refugees coming over to China would be a problem. So China's always going to prop up North Korea, and at a certain point, they'll veto anytime North Korea gets way too out of line. Like these countries, they're not strong enough to determine world policy. They're secondary.
Is Isaac, are you back on?
Yeah.
Okay, we've got Isaac back on. So we've got.
What's up,
how are you?
All right, so
what are we talking about here?
But yeah, don't fall for the fear mongering of North Korea and Iran. These are 2 small, pitiful states. Iran's working on the nuke. North Korea doesn't have the capability to shoot a nuke. And this idea that some crazy man's going to set one off, not going to happen. They're 2 dependent states, China and the U.S. and Russia and all other major players determine them even going forward. Because they can't exist without, huge amounts of aid from those countries. So
I think Kim Jong-un would push the button if he wanted to. I think he's just waiting for that perfect moment.
Well, that's what the media tells you.
Anybody who could kill his own uncle at the drop of a hat for some trumped-up charge can do anything,
Exactly.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's say you're Kim Jong-un. You're the king. You're the monarch, basically. Not an actual name, but an actual way it works out. So you're living in luxury. You got the best of everything. You got your people subdued and under propaganda that, the FBI wishes they had. Are you telling me that you're going to send a nuke and end all of that? Because once you send that nuke, the world powers turn you into a parking lot. So why does he want to give up this beautiful life that he has?
Well, don't forget that Kim Jong-un, he has some very important advisors like Dennis Rodman. I mean, he and Dennis Rodman are so tight.
Right.
I mean, look, listen, he's not a sane person, no matter what you think. He's just not.
Look, the bottom line is, if he gets even Putin would wind up bombing him, between China, Putin, and the United States, I think they'll all take out contracts to kill him, But the United States.
You guys got to remember this too. Every time he acts up, they get aid. So when they shoot off one of these missile tests or whatever, and he starts, saving rather, then he gets food aid or monetary aid. Then they go back and say, okay, we're gonna behave.
Yeah.
And 2 years later, they'll do it again. They'll get more aid. So, don't confuse his little game to get aid for actual crazy enough to push the button. And in all reality, him pushing the button means what? How far is that missile going to go? Let's be honest here. They don't have the capabilities to hit the U.S.
Well, it's not going to go anywhere because we're going to blow it up en route. It's not going to go anywhere.
Easily.
It's the same thing, with ISIS. They don't have the capability, even if they.
And if we can be hacked, what do you think? How much do you think their systems have been hacked? And how much do you think their systems have been hacked if we can be hacked?
Listen,
the media likes to scare us with guys like him, man. He's
look, we hacked the Prime Minister of Germany, our ally.
You see what I mean?
Crazy.
You think we can't hack North Korea?
Actually, if China wanted, they could shut off North Korea completely. Anything they get, all the signals they get, everything else is to them.
Yeah, China's no fools, though. I mean, they read up on the Cold War. They figured out what Russian strategy that went bad was. And they decided they're not going to get in the arms race with us. They're going to create defensive military operations, and they're going to keep trying to expand economically and kind of just overtake us as the economic behemoth on the world stage. But they don't want to get in the arms race with us because they know that's a losing battle. So,
and they're also starting to build them. They're starting to build those little islands all around, so they can start taking control of the ocean.
And then all of a sudden we got this TPP thing going on, to where we're going to come over there and get some of that market share. So, it's interesting.
Well,
I don't know. According to Hillary, she said she's now against the TPP, even though her running mate was in favor of it.
Right.
It's a golden standard.
What's
That's
that?
right.
And President Obama's the one he signed it into law. So it's like, and we're bombing Libya right now. So I mean, and Libya is getting bombed left and right. So is Syria. I mean, we're not giving up. We're out there pounding away, man.
No, you know what it's like? It's like a tag team wrestling match. That's what it is. One person.
That's why I said we're already in World War III.
Well, it is quite unfortunate.
To be honest, if Obama didn't get reelected and Mitt Romney was the president, he would have done the same thing with TPP. He would have done the same thing.
Yeah,
you're right.
There ain't no difference. They're all empty.
You're right.
They're all empty.
The sad thing is that I'm afraid of, I have kids that range in age from 30 to 40, okay? And I worry about the, grandkids that might be coming or whatever. And I'm saying to myself, they'll never know a day of peace because they'll always have to worry that there's going to be terror sprouting up somewhere in the world or in this country. I mean, and it's just a way of life, unfortunately.